Don't get me wrong, folks. There are a number of names that we can highlight as, quote-unquote, the biggest steal of the 2025 NHL Draft first round. I think the Washington Capitals drafting Lynden Lakovic is seen as one of those big ones, but I wanted to talk about the very last pick. A guy who was taken towards the end despite the fact that he could have been taken a lot higher depending on who you would have asked. From Matthew Schaefer at number 1 to Braeden Cootes at number 15, I wanted to talk about the very last pick of round 1 because I think the Calgary Flames drafting Cullen Potter was one of the most underrated value pickups in this first round. Now, let's get it out of the way. No, Cullen is no cousin of Harry. But Cullen Potter, playing for the NTDP and the Arizona State University Sun Devils, provided some extreme value for this team. He's 18 years old, 5'10", 172, left-handed left-wing player. By the way, look at that. Braeden Cootes is the number 1 player trending on Elite Prospects. There's that Vancouver connection, baby, going out there and being strong on social media. But Cullen Potter over here, undersized left wing, was drafted by Calgary 32nd overall, despite the fact that his rankings were all over the place. Future considerations had Potter at number 9. Meanwhile, you had Kennedy on the Hockey News putting him at number 25. Craig Button had Potter all the way down there at 50. But he was ranked 14th overall by Recruit Scouting and Dobber Prospects, 7th by Smot Scouting. This guy, Cullen Potter, was so divisive, but the fact is this is a guy whose overall skill set cannot be questioned. At his best, Cullen Potter attacks at angles, blending explosive stop and starts, instantly translating from forward stride to cut to crossover. This is all possible due to Potter's deep skating stance, accelerating out of every move, all while linking plays through difficult-to-read changes in pace. Through his mobility, Potter leverages space, operates with an independent upper body, funnels pucks to the inside, and slips pucks through traffic for teammates. Cullen Potter this season posted up 8 points in 9 games for the NTDP. He had 46 points in 54 games for the U17 NTDP last year, and playing for Arizona State University in the NCAA, he had 22 points in 35 games played. That's not bad. Draft-eligible guy who's already playing in the NCAA because he had an early 07 birth date. Actually, I don't know how that fits. Why was he able to play in the NCAA so early before he had turned 18? I guess he might have played afterwards, after his birthday. That might have been the case here. But Cullen Potter is a guy whom, if you check out the Elite Prospects draft guide, it says here that he is a high-end skater who brings a sniper's release and some playmaking. But it was his growth defensively and physically that impressed this season. Potter has some of the best wheels in the entire NHL draft class, not to mention his pure shooting ability in tight and what he's able to do with the puck on his stick. He brings physicality and he brings defensive play that also makes him worthy of being taken early on here. In fact, the highest scouting report that I've seen for Cullen Potter is nowhere near the 32nd overall rank that the NHL draft inevitably saw him getting taken at. It's from Will Scouching, who had Cullen Potter ranked at number 5 on his list. Let's read what Scouch went out there and said. I just keep going back and seeing so much upside with Cullen Potter. Lots of people rightfully see a questionable upside with regards to his puck management and pass vision, but good lord, he is one of the most exciting players available once the first few picks go off the board. Potter is an insanely strong combination of speed and skill. His shooting ability and pace of play work in conjunction to create a lethal individual player in almost every facet of the game. Playing big minutes up the middle of ASU's offense is no easy task, and he didn't have the luxury of multiple top 30 picks as line mates. Potter is a player who I believe will only rise to meet the level of competition ahead of him with faster, strong line mates with better finishing ability. But he is not without faults. Despite being an elite puck carrier, he can look off easier pass lanes at times and cause turnovers. His defensive awareness of passing lanes is a work in progress, but for a small center who is 17 and in the NCAA, that is probably understandable. His physical play will never be a hallmark, but it is something that needs to be explored further. That said, I can only imagine how much Potter would have laid waste to the USHL or the CHL this season. I remember watching Logan Cooley at this age, and I simply cannot picture him being better than Potter had he been an NCAA center in his draft year. I love his potential, and I'm positive he'll be gone much later in the draft than he should go. Now, I'm not saying here, and nor is Will Scouching saying here, that Cullen Potter is a Logan Cooley caliber asset, a third overall caliber guy getting taken 32nd overall in the NHL draft. But what Scouching is saying is that Potter has so much potential and so much skill, a really great combination of these skills, that there could very well be the argument made that if both of these guys were NCAA caliber players, or not caliber players, if they were just NCAA players, period, at the same time, at the same age, there could be the argument that Cullen Potter is seen as a more valuable piece, although that is definitely going to be a stretch depending on who you ask. But Cullen Potter, taken at the end of the first round, a very long first round, by the way, is, in my opinion, one of the biggest steals for this group of guys. Now, to end off this video, because we're at 6 minutes and 30 seconds, let's just push it a little bit over to get over the hump. How was the draft this year? I don't know, man. It's 8:48 p.m. right here. The draft started 4 hours ago. I know the folks on like Steve Dangle and the podcast over there and everybody else who's been streaming for the event, they were talking about, oh yeah, like, in previous years, the draft was 4 hours long, the first round, that is, and I was kind of thinking after the first few picks went off the board, I was like, oh, it's not going to be 4 hours. It's going to be longer than that. It took the entire program an hour to get through 5 picks. Like, I get it. The NHL wants to do these cool things, interviews, Zoom commentary, and other things like that, guest appearances and whatnot, to provide extra content for the fans that are cheering for these teams and the families who cheer for these players, but like, you don't need a 5-hour first round. 8 hours and 40 minutes of just stop and go and technical difficulties and whatnot. Please just bring back the regular NHL draft format here. That's what I think everybody wants to see after this, whatever this was. Like, how is the day 2 even gonna work? Remote drafting? For 100 and however many picks they're going to be in rounds 2 through 7? I mean, we might not even see any trades go down, honestly. The Noah Dobson trade that went down today happened way earlier in the morning. So by the time the draft floor and the draft stage was already set up, it was like, okay, all we got to do is just make the trade known, officially announce it. But with all the other picks, I mean, there were no trades at all. It was just trades swapping around draft picks. Nobody got moved. So I kind of wonder if this format even allows for that level of communication that would facilitate any sort of a trade. It doesn't seem like it's possible. All these GMs are just in their own rooms and kind of calling other guys in order to get things to go. It just doesn't feel proper in the way that everything should work as an NHL draft. But ultimately, that's what we had. It was a program really long here. I am glad I didn't stream for the entire thing. I could not have been able to talk for 5 hours straight. I'm sorry, I'm not young like I used to be. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Cullen Potter, a guy whom I'm saying is one of the biggest steals of this year's NHL first round draft. How do you feel about this draftee? Let me know in the comment section all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.